Hi, and welcome to Best in Tesla. Well, it looks like Tesla is actually ramping up production pretty nicely in all their factories, according to a leaked email from Elon Musk, and is about to take Fremont to the next level as well, and just broke the old record in production in the factory, putting the former owners GM and Toyota to shame. And Tesla is controlling the Osborne effect very smoothly from the transition from the old 2170 cells to the new 4680 cells. So if we look past the noise right now, I do see a very good time ahead in the near future. So let's check it all out and let's dive right in. So we are always talking about Tesla ramping up production, but we are seeing it play out right now, as we saw in a leaked email from Elon Musk, where he congratulated the Fremont team for achieving an all-time record production day last week. This is very good to see. We know it has a capacity of 600,000 cars per year, but Elon thinks they can ramp it up to 1 million. And we might start to see the first few steps towards that with the new production record coming out of the Fremont factory. Also, as Texas ramp up further with the production of the Model Y, it will leave a bit more breathing room for the Fremont factory to start changing the production line with some of all the knowledge Tesla has got from their 3 new factories, and maybe start to set up some more geek casting machines so they can make more room for production instead of 600 welding robots that is currently making the underbody of the Model 3 in Fremont, and then start ramping up the Fremont factory yet again to even higher numbers in the near future. And just a fun little fact about the Fremont factory, remember that factory was both owned by GM and Toyota, but the factory has never produced as many cars as it does today under Tesla. Yes, Tesla is better at producing cars than both GM and Toyota. And Tesla will ramp up the production by another 40 to 50%. Yep, Tesla's new way of producing cars is up and beyond anyone else that is making cars. And Tesla only paid $42 million for that factory. And last year it probably produced about $20 to $22 billion in revenue. And if we take Tesla's operating margin of almost 20%, we are looking at this factory which was losing money for Toyota and GM, but is now earning Tesla in operating margin about $4 to $4.5 billion last year. Hats off to the team at Fremont, not just for the new record last week, but for all the work they have been doing for the last decade. Very impressive. And Elon did say that the Austin is spooling up, so it sounds like they're getting some good production going there as well. And since he used the word spooling, I would expect that it is because he's talking about the production of the 4680 battery cells that is ramping up, which would be the bottleneck for the Texas factory to ramp up production of the Model Y with the structural battery pack of the 4680 cells. And as Dylan from Electrified shared in one of his recent videos, that according to one of his sources inside Tesla, they produce about 1 million 4680 cells a month as of right now, but that could of course quickly change if the ramp is actually spooling up, as Elon puts it. But 1 million 4680 cells should be enough for about 1,200 to 1,500 cars per month, so not enough to make a huge amount of Model Y still, but according to Dylan's sources, Tesla should put in some extra production line at Texas factory to make the Model Y with 2170 cells as well as the 4680 cells, probably to get the production a bit faster off the ground and not being so reliant on the 4680 cell production ramp, because as Elon also wrote in the email, Berlin did hit 1,000 Model Y production last week. So Berlin seems to be producing as many Model Ys in a week as Texas is able to do in a month, with the current 4680 cell capacity, of course. So not hard to understand, with the huge order backlog that Tesla has, that they want to get an extra production line going with the 2170 cells as well, as we wait for Tesla to perfect the production of the 4680 cell. As Elon also wrote, Shanghai is returning to full strength. As I also just reported in my last news show, they are aiming for 71,000 units in production in June. So if they are able to pull that one off, that will actually be a new record for the Shanghai factory. So guess Elon was right when he was saying that Shanghai would come back with vengeance. But with Berlin already at the great production rate of 1,000 cars per week, well, that frees up a lot of Model Y production from the Shanghai factory that will be delivered somewhere else. Remember, Tesla usually sends a ship from Shanghai to Europe with about 3,000 to 4,000 cars on each ship. But it takes Tesla about 2 months to get that car from production in China until it hits the shops in Europe. But in 2 months, Tesla Berlin factory will have produced about 8,000 Model Ys and delivered them to the customers. And Tesla will save a lot of money and emission by not sending those thousands of cars on boats to Europe. And if Tesla is already at the production rate of 1,000 per week in Berlin, that factory for the rest of the year would be able to produce about 28,000 Model Ys for the European market. And it will of course ramp up further. Tesla is hiring between 500 to 600 people every month at the Tesla Berlin factory. So this is just the bare minimum if nothing more happens. And to put that in perspective, Tesla only sold about 23,000 Model Ys in Europe last year. So the Berlin factory should on its own easily be able to beat those numbers this year. And we have had many Model Ys coming from the Shanghai factory to Europe this year already. As of making this video, Tesla has already sold over 16,000 Model Ys year to date. So the next 28,000 plus will be on top of that. So we will probably see the Model Y's sales numbers in Europe be about 50,000 units. That would actually have put it in a top 5 last year of best-selling EVs in Europe and would be a doubling of last year's Model Y numbers in Europe, so that would be nice. But if the ramp of the Model Y in Shanghai is anything to go by, well, it took them about 6 months to really get the production above 20,000 units a month. So we could maybe see some really good big production numbers out of Berlin in the last 2 months of the year, and put the production numbers maybe even above 60 to 70,000 units from the Berlin factory alone. But we just don't know how the ramp will go, and they still get their batteries from China for those cars, but they also need to ramp up the production of the 4680 cell in Berlin by the end of the year and make that switch and all that. So just so many unknowns about the Berlin production ramp, but it already shows off some really good numbers. And as I reported in my last news show, we have seen the Model Y starting deliveries in both Japan, Singapore, New Zealand, Australia. And in Australia, we had some numbers that there should have been pre-ordered about 4,000 Model Ys in just 1.5 hours of being online. That is a whole ship from Shanghai factory sold in just 1.5 hours. So if you want the Model Y and live in Australia, you should probably order one now, because it looks like there will be a long waiting list for the Tesla Model Y in Australia, as there is pretty much anywhere else in the world right now. And expected deliveries should have started late August to early September, but because of the explosion in demand Tesla saw in the first few days, deliveries are now being pushed out to February to May 2023. Insane. But as I say, a whole ship has already been sold out in just 1.5 hours, and we should not expect Tesla to start exporting any of its many Model Ys being ramped up in the Shanghai just yet, as we are in the last month of the quarter. So Tesla China usually don't export any cars, or a very small amount of cars, in the last month of the quarter. And we can see there are no ships being loaded in Shanghai or heading somewhere right now, other than the 3 ships that have been heading for Europe for the last month or so. But if Tesla China is up and running faster now than pre-lockdown, we should see a lot of Model Y being exported in July and August, and again in October and November, heading for Australia, New Zealand, Japan, Singapore, and maybe more places. So yes, Tesla might have a low Q2 because of the lockdown in China, but just remember this is only temporary, and everything looks to be ramping up pretty good, and we should expect some really high numbers in Q3 Q4. So don't panic when we see the delivery numbers or production numbers of Q2. They will probably not be records as we have getting used to with Tesla, but it looks like it's not just Tesla China, but all of Tesla, which will come back with vengeance in Q3 and 4, if China doesn't make more crazy lockdowns, of course. And I think Tesla has done a great job with the Osborne effect of the new Model Y with the 4680 cell compared to the old Model Y with 2170 cells. By starting with the lowest range model, which also makes Tesla able to produce more cars with the smaller amount of 4680 cells that they have. But then also software limits the charging speed, as Dylan from Electrified also confirmed with his source that Tesla is doing right now. But that would make a lot of sense, not only because Tesla needs to take it slow with their new battery technology and make sure everything works fine, but again also making sure that the new version of Tesla's cars don't stand out too much. As we know, the 4680 cells should be able to charge much faster because they don't have the heat problem as most other batteries do. But all of this to make sure that Tesla's Model Y coming out of the Texas factory will not look too superior to the Tesla Model Y coming out of the Fremont factory. So Tesla should not really see a big Osborne effect here. But again, I don't really think many people outside the Tesla community really knows about the 4680 cell versus the 2170 cells, or even care. They just want a great EV, and they will get exactly that, no matter what Model Y that will show up at their doorstep. And maybe they will just get a nice surprise with an over-the-air update down the road. Who knows? But someone like Ford, I think, is going to feel the Osborne effect much more. Not to their other EVs, but Ford has made a great electric F-150 Lightning. As they say themselves, it's the best and most powerful F-150 they have ever made. And as I talked about before, 52% of people already today want to buy an EV for their next car. So I think many will just wait until they can get their hands off the F-150 Lightning and not buy the inferior and polluting ICE version of the F-150. But as we know, Ford doesn't advertise for the F-150 Lightning because good EVs sells themselves, so Ford doesn't have to. But maybe Ford doesn't want too many of their F-150 customers to know they can get a much better electric F-150 that will save them something like $20,000 in true cost of ownership over a 5-year period. They still want them to buy their ICE versions for many, many years to come, because Ford will not be able to ramp up production of the Lightning to match the wholesales of the F-150 series for many, many years. So they need the old customers to continue to buy their old polluting ICE versions for many years to come. But will they? Tesla does not have that problem with the ICE version, but they still need to be careful and not introduce too many of the advantages of the new 4680 cells just yet, but take it slow and still just focus on ramping up production, because 4680 cell or not, Tesla will sell every single car they produce. So nice to see they are actually breaking production records and ramping up pretty nicely at both Austin and especially Berlin, because it will save Tesla a lot of money to get a whole new factory on a whole new continent to produce a lot of cars. So still very optimistic about the production here in 2022. Q2 will be a little bump on this crazy acceleration of production Tesla is in right now. Nothing but good times ahead. And thank you for watching. And until next time, take care out there and be nice.